Welcome to Actuaries in the Wild podcast. I started this podcast because I believe that actuaries are more than just your stereotypical number cruncher that sits at a computer all day. Many of us have endeavors that go beyond the traditional actuarial realm. My goal is to meet those actuaries who have ventured from their desks to explore their passions. It's time to meet the actuaries in the wild. Today's actuary on the wild is Michelle Sheppard. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
I want to start by finding out a little bit more information about your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself, including what made you decide to become an actuary and about your actuarial career.
Sure. So I live in Central Missouri, have a couple of kids. One's grown and flown, one's in college, and married for many years. Started my actuarial career over 25 years ago with the workers' comp company. And why did I decide to be an actuary? I was good at math. And at that point in time, when I went through college, I wasn't sure what else to do with the math degree. I originally taught for a couple of years,
Yeah.
but kind of knew even when I went into that wasn't what I wanted to do long term. But couldn't find an actuarial job when I first came out of college. So taught for a couple of years, and then I jumped into the insurance field when I had an opportunity. And spent a couple of years in St. Louis with a workers' comp company. And then at PwC in Atlanta for a couple of years. And then a lot of my career was spent at Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance here in Central Missouri. There I did actuarial work, both in the P&C line and also life insurance. Had the opportunity to go into management and operations there. And then about 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to step back into the actuarial field. It was kind of a period of time as we start talking about my business today.
Right.
I was experiencing a lot of chronic stress and some burnout, and that was sort of a wake-up call, I guess, and decided at that point I wanted to reduce some of my stress. So I stepped back into the actuarial field, and now I'm at Missouri Employers Mutual and the corporate actuary there.
Okay. So what makes you an actuary in the wild is that you started a wellness company called Balience Wellness. Tell us a little bit more about what Balience Wellness is and why you decided to start this company.
Sure. So Balience Wellness is my own company, and I set it up to provide health coaching and yoga to people on an individual and group basis. And really, again, it was kind of a seed planted back a few years ago where I really was seeing a deterioration in my health, largely because of burnout. I lost quite a bit of weight in just a few weeks, had a lot of symptoms, and figured out in the end it was a lot of it was stress. But even more importantly than it was stress, it was my reaction to stress and the fact that I had not been taking good care of my own health. Preceding that, I was not exercising, I was not eating well, I was not reducing stress, doing self-care practices, and so on. And so really through that journey, I've learned how important it is to be proactive in our health. Not that I didn't know that, but we fall into bad habits, right?
Yeah.
And so I really learned how important it is to really be a well-balanced human and to be able to balance and have resilience to stress and to disease by taking care of my health on the front side, not the back side. And so that's my shift. And I just want to share that with people because I see so many people struggling with their health, whether it be mobility or weight or mental health or just stress, and want to help people like live their best life and find joy and have energy to do everything they love to do.
Right. So what types of services do you offer as a wellness coach?
Yeah, so I offer both group and individual yoga, and then I also offer group and individual health and wellness coaching, as well as workshops. I can do keynotes, different things like that. I have a retreat coming up in a couple of weeks at a local venue here. It's just a half-day retreat where we'll do some yoga, we'll do some gratitude practice and some coaching, and end with a healthy lunch. So just a variety of options that we're trying to put in our community, but also in other spaces as well.
So I know when we talked before, you had talked about mental health, you talk about physical health. Are there certain kinds of medical conditions you specialize in?
I don't specialize in anything in particular, although I can coach around really any kind of health, chronic health, or even acute health issue. I would encourage someone, if they have a diagnosis of a chronic condition or an acute condition, that I work closely with their healthcare team, right?
Okay.
So we would want to do, we would want to do medical releases and things so that
Right.
I
Okay.
understand any constraints or any diagnosis and any conditions that they have. And then I work also with people who are healthy and who are just trying to prevent disease or reduce
Right.
their risk of disease, to make lifestyle changes, like things I talked about, increased movement and better nutrition, and even things like purpose, right? Like how are you spending your day? How are you creating purpose in your life? So many, really everything in our life impacts our health and vice versa. So while health coaching might be specific to a medical condition, it can also be more general in just creating a lifestyle and wellness in general.
I see. So, what kind of training do you need to become a wellness coach?
Yeah, so I went through an accredited course. There is a body, a governing body called the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching, and they have a particular curriculum, not unlike the CAS,
Yeah.
right? Or the SOA. And so they have a particular curriculum. There are programs across the country that develop programs and are accredited through that board to have education. So I went through this program. It was about a 6 month program of online and individual
Okay.
work. We had to do practice coaching in that program, and ultimately provide evidence and do a coaching session with mentor coaches that demonstrated we had the coaching skills. And then once that certification process was over, I did 50 hours of practical experience. So I had to coach for 50 hours.
Okay.
And those two programs combined, the education and then the practical hours, qualified me to sit for the national board exam. So I'm a
Okay.
national board certified health and wellness coach. And that's a program put on by this National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching,
Mhm.
and also the National Board of Medical Examiners.
So I know a lot of the actuaries listening, they've gone through many of the exams.
Yes.
What was an exam like for your board exam?
Yeah, well, I thought, oh, it'll be a breeze compared to a
Yeah.
CAS exam, right? Not so much. For one thing, I'm much older now, and so I probably don't learn quite as easily. But it was challenging. I mean, it was a 4-hour exam, multiple choice, however, so
Okay.
that you think that helps. Although some of the questions are very tricky. Like
Right.
there's more than one answer. A lot of times they were conditional answers, right? Like you're actually coaching somebody. What would your response to this
I
be, or
see.
how would you approach this? So it was very practical exam questions, and it just brought back memories of the actual exams.
Yeah. So I looked at your website, and we'll talk about where people can get more information in a little bit. But you mentioned on your website that your hope and dream is to be an active 90-plus-year-old, and that's one of my hopes and dreams too. I was seeing many of my older relatives struggle with health
Mhm.
problems, and I've decided I did not want to be someone who had chronic health issues.
Mhm.
After I retired, my hope is to retire in my early 60s. I'm in my early 50s now, but retire in my early 60s. But for many, they struggle with how to begin, and they don't stick to the
Mhm.
routine. So, how does having a wellness coach help people get healthy and, most importantly, stay healthy?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and certainly many of us struggle with that, right? Getting started and then sticking to those habits. So the health and wellness coach, through coaching, I help clients first of all identify why they might even want to change, right? And
Right.
why they want to develop healthy habits. Just like you said, you saw the reason is you want to be active when you're retired, and you want to avoid these health problems. And
Right.
so part of it is identifying motivation. Part of it is identifying gaps between where they are today and where they would like to be. It's a lot like doing strategy in insurance, right? It's like, where do you want to be and where are you now? And how do we take steps and how do we implement habits and routines to get us there? We like to find ways to early on, especially to find client success. So starting with some small steps and then building on that success story and that and those things. So my coach training is centered around behavioral change theory in psychology, and also like motivational interviewing and things like that to really help the client find it within themselves, right? Because I can't get a client to change. It has nothing to do with me. All I can do is be there for their support and to encourage them, provide resources if there's resources they need. But your change has to come from within. And so the coach helps find those motivations for change, helps the client set SMART goals and provide accountability, encouragement. Setbacks will happen. We try to normalize setbacks, and then we try to help the client get back on their path if a setback occurs. And it's an entire really journey, right? From the time you decide or the time you start thinking about maybe I should implement whatever to getting to the point where you can sustain that change long term.
Right.
And the coach just walks alongside with you and really is your support system in that. It's a lot of fun to coach people. It's a lot of fun to see them find success in small and big ways.
Yeah, I know, we talked a little bit about this before the podcast started. I've been on a journey myself, a lot of it eating healthier, losing weight, but it was not a linear journey by any means. And I don't think anybody has experienced that. I've lost 50 pounds, but I lost 40 pounds and then I gained 20 pounds and then I lost the rest. So it was not something that is any linear. And I think having the support systems are really good to help because it can definitely be discouraging if you've done all that work and then it looks like it's just gone away. And so I think having some support like that is really important where a wellness coach can have that. So I know you mentioned you're located in Central Missouri, and I know there might be people who are watching this that aren't located anywhere near you. And but are you still able to work with people virtually?
Yes, absolutely. So we do health and wellness coaching on Zoom all the time. You can you can schedule on the website actually directly with me. I offer an initial consultation free to just get to know you, see what your goals are, and see if it's a fit too, because I think it's really important that if you engage with a health and wellness coach, that it's a good fit for both parties. And so we always have that initial conversation. I also can offer yoga individually and group online as well.
I see. Okay. So if someone's interested in this, how can they find out more information about you?
Yeah, so the website is baliancewellness.com. I'm also on Instagram. That's Balience Wellness .msheppard, I believe, and then Facebook as well.
Okay. So I was looking through your website. There's other resources than just about the wellness thing. What other resources can people find on your website?
Yes, I have some links to some things like lifestyle medicine and the coaching resources, the board, things like that. I also have a blog that I do occasionally. I'm not a terribly frequent poster there, but a blog. Yeah. And then I'm hoping actually soon to start kind of a resource section of that website as well. And in particular, interested in starting probably kind of a book recommendation list for a variety of resources and just books that speak to me. I'm an avid reader, so I love to share. As you can see, I love to share all the resources that I find.
That's great. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I guess just to end, I guess a couple things. I think I mentioned this already. I think it's really important that we all understand that nearly every aspect of our lives impact our health and vice versa. and to really have to optimize our impact on the world, that we really have to have health. And so it's essential to start and focus on the health. The other thing is that today is the day, right? Like, we can't wait a decade. You don't want to wait till you retire at 60 to start your weight loss journey and your mobility and things, because that time is important. So time is of essence, regardless of your age, whether you're 20 or 50 or 60 or 80, whatever. Today is the day. And then just don't underestimate the importance of social connection to your health. It is a key ingredient. And obviously, many of us work from our homes now. I'm in my home most of the time since COVID. The actuarial community, anyway, I'm sure there's a lot that aren't, but those social connections are really important. And so if you're not out and about, make sure you connect with someone. And a health and wellness coach is a good proxy for that. If you don't have a good support system, that's one of the ways that a health and wellness coach can support you as well.
So I'd like to just touch on the social aspect of that a little bit. So I know that a lot of us, as you said, are at home, and a lot of us tend to, I would say, maybe work or overwork, and so what happens is we'll be at work, we go into our office or wherever we're sitting at our computer at home and work, and then you may just say, okay, the day's over, I just want to relax and I want to go sit down, and then you start over the next day, and that can really lead to a lot of burnout. And so I absolutely agree. It's big to have social connections, and so when I was seeing some articles about some people where they said they really need to go back in the office for that social connection, I think it's important to say, okay, maybe you shouldn't rely on your work for those social connections. Look for those opportunities outside of work, if you're not going to be getting them at work because of so many people working from home now. And so I think it's important, and as you said, a wellness coach can be one of those ways, but obviously there's other opportunities. Look for hobbies and look for things that, there are other things that you're passionate about and things that you can get involved in beyond that. There's always opportunities. If you're religious, a church or a synagogue or a temple, those are ways to do that. If you're not, there's organizations out there, there's volunteer opportunities out there, but there's always ways to get involved in something. There's definitely ways to be social and get involved in something. So I think I think that point cannot be emphasized enough.
And I think your point is great too. And I think there's huge opportunities, right, to couple that social connection with your other health and wellness goals. So just what you said, spirituality, that's a great way to kind of leverage that, right? You've got two things happening. You got the spiritual and you got the social connection. Going to the gym, I mean, I don't love to go to the gym, but at the same time, hey, if you go to the gym and you have people you work out with, or just even people that you see there each week, each day that you go, that's social connection. So there's ways to sort of pair these habits together too, which will just escalate, your health and wellness from there.
Right. So I think those are great ideas.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, I appreciate you for taking the time to join with me and being my guest on Actuary in the Wild today.
It's been really fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you're an actuary or know an actuary who has ventured out into the wild, contact me and so we can share your story. You can find Actuaries in the Wild on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time on Actuaries in the Wild.